Janet, Pat, Penny and Mavis. This was taken on September the 8th, where, as you can see, Janet Athey joined the happy, or should I say noisy, juniors. And the following week, Jennifer Thomas joined, making 6 juniors in all. Then down to work for the winter concert. As we didn't have a summer one, we decided to have one nearer Christmas and to have a few new ideas and better chance of selling. Also the blanket made of squares. Well, I must say no more, as Marissa has this all in hand. Concert 1953. This concert was held in the Conservative Hall. It began at 7:15 p.m, preceded by the sale of work, which began at 6:30 p.m. We had an audience of about 70 to 80 people, who helped the proceeds enormously. The concert commenced with the opening chorus, followed by a small play called Late. Next came Josie's dance. As she is not a club member, she appeared as a guest artist. Also, we invited Edgar Bentley, who is a ventriloquist, to put on a show of his own, which he did. And I must add that he gave it for charity. Pat and Mavis Rolls came next, and they said a poem which was followed by a puppet sketch of Little Red Riding Hood, which the youngest of the audience enjoyed, judging by the oohs and ahs we heard. Then came a duet by Rosemary Neal and Betty Shaw, called Fairy on the Christmas Tree, accompanied by a little dance performed by the same. Most of the music accompaniment was played by Mrs. Lockley. One original item on the programme was the can-can, and I must say it was great fun to do. The song of the Trich Trach and also Velia was sung by Pat Stacey, followed by Anne Parkinson, who sang Waltz of My Heart and said that very long poem called The Highwayman. To finish with, there was the Christmas Mime, in which the juniors appeared as angels, and I must say they looked very angelic. After a very happy time, and a hectic one too for club members, it finally finished with the ending chorus. Oh, and I must add that in spite of all Derrick's assertions, the curtains of the stage finished up upside down and back to front, but nobody seemed to notice, although they looked pretty awful from the back. Marisa Ellis. This is one of their handwritten notices about their concert. Money taken at concert. Raffle, £2 2 and 6. Sale of work, £5 17 and 3 halfpenny. Ticket money, £2 17. At door, 5 and 6. Penny in a bucket, 7 pence. Treasure hunt, 7 and 11. Blanket, £1 11 and 6. Total, £13 2 and 3 halfpenny. Of course, this was not all profit, as we had to pay for the hall and prizes costing about £1, and things for the sale, about £3. But we were very pleased to be able to send to Dr. Bernardo's home £5 as a result of our efforts, and keeping the rest for our club funds. And there is a receipt, and that was the receipt from Dr. Bernardo's homes. The concert was on December the 12th, and the senior Christmas party on December the 22nd. And then, on the 24th of December, we went carol singing. The party was, as usual, a happy event, and I took the opportunity of thanking all members for their wonderful display on the most successful club concert ever. Betty presented Mum and Dad with a brass shovel with Robin Hood on the handle, and we thanked them again for letting us meet at Sheredean, the name of their house. The club gave me a bottle of my favourite hand cream and 2 hankies as well, which was very nice of them. Rosemary Neal was in London at the time of the party, but we were pleased to have Rosemary Lockley with us and Derek. We had plenty of eats and played games, etc., but the prizes and results of the year were one of the main features of the evening. Results as follows: points winner, Wendy, with 202 points, and Rosemary Neal was given a special prize, having got 147 points. Attendance, Wendy with 42 out of 43. Cup winners, Rosemary Neal and Wendy with 3 times each. And a receipt from Dr. Bernardo's Homes for the £2 which the Sheredean Club sent as a result of their carol singing exercise. I feel I must include a junior club party and results in 1953, although it wasn't held until January the 5th. The points winner was Pat Rolls with 75 points, attendance Pat Rolls and Mavis Rolls with 23 out of 23. Vice-captain Wendy and Rosemary came to help with the party, and Rosemary received her prizes then. The whole party was a great success. In fact, the whole year, I think, was a real success in every way, and I hope the next will be as good. 1954. Our first meeting in 1954 was January the 12th, and we were pleased to welcome back Joyce, who was a member in 1948 and 49. The committee picked were Captain, Vice-Captain, Wendy as leader, and Marissa as secretary. Leader for juniors was Pat Ellis, and second Pat Rolls. The club rules were revised in February, and the motto altered as well. After these were learnt, we had new green and gold shield-shaped badges with SC in monogram, all made for us. On March the 9th, Jennifer Thomas left the club because she was taking up music lessons. But on March the 19th, Peggy Lowton joined. Nothing had been planned for Easter, but at the last minute, Vice-Captain decided to take the seniors out on Easter Monday. On Easter Monday, 5 members of the club and 1 old member went on a hike. They were Wendy, Joyce, Marissa, Peggy, myself, and Gillian was the old member. We met outside the library at 10:45, and as we all arrived early, we were in Huntingdon Street bus station soon after 11 o'clock. Gillian and Marissa went for a cup of coffee, and then we all waited for the South Notts bus, which was to take us to Loughborough. It came in at 11:20, and we climbed aboard. The bus left at 11:30, and the route which it took enabled us to see quite a good bit of the countryside on the way. We arrived at Loughborough just past 12:30, and started walking along the B5230 road which led out of Loughborough. And as we kept walking, the scenery changed, getting more and more countrified. I was the only one who knew just how long the road was, 2 3/4 miles, and every few minutes I would be asked, "Oh, when do we get to the crossroads?" Of course we did arrive eventually, and turned left past Nanpanton Post Office. We looked longingly at the reservoir, but as it looked private, we kept walking. By this time Wendy was rubbing her tummy and saying, "I want my egg sandwiches." We were making for a stream that Captain and I had seen a few weeks before. We walked into one wood and came out to the road. When we came to the stream, we found a grassy spot and sat down and had our dinner. Afterwards, we all felt refreshed, and Joyce stayed to look after the things, and the rest of us decided to explore. We walked along the stream by the stones, and when we reached a herd of cows, we had the usual argument as to whether they were bulls or cows. When we were coming back through that field, all the cows started walking towards us, and we made a mad dash across the stream into the next field, and started running. We were almost helpless with laughter, and when we recovered, we realized that the cows were going to the farm to be milked. After that, we decided to walk through the fields back to Loughborough, following a path to another stream, and we finished what we had to eat and caught the 5:30 bus back home. Anne Parkinson. Pat Stacey writes, on May 25th, I cancelled the juniors because of me starting a new job. And at seniors, we decided juniors would start at 6:15 p.m, with the leader and second taking the first game and finish at 7:15 p.m. And at 7 p.m, the seniors would start with vice-captain taking the first game. However, we cancelled the juniors on June the 1st so that we could have an evening out, which proved very successful, and we wanted to go again. Joyce will tell you what we did. On June 1st, 1954, Captain, Vice-Captain, Betty, Melissa, Rosemary, Anne and myself met in Nottingham at 6:45 and caught a Beeston bus, from which we alighted at Highfields. When we arrived, Anne and Rosemary said they wanted to go on the lake in a boat, but Captain said that they could when we had been for a walk first. We walked along the side of the lake until we reached the paddling pool. There, Betty, Rosemary, Anne and myself took off our shoes and socks and started paddling. The water was very cold, but we soon got used to it. Later, Captain decided to paddle with the rest of us. After a quarter of an hour, we dried ourselves and had a few races around the pond to get warm. When we were warm, we all set back to the boating lake. When we arrived there, Betty and myself didn't want to go in a boat, but when the rest of them were on the water, we decided that we would go on after all, so we hired a canoe. We stayed on the water for half an hour, and when we came off, we all looked rather wet, but we didn't mind. After that, we had an ice cream each and then set off for the bus stop. We arrived home at about 9 o'clock, and we all agreed that we had enjoyed ourselves thoroughly. Joyce. On June 15th, we gained a new junior named Kathleen. The following week, June the 22nd, a new senior joined, named Carol. We had a camp down the garden on Saturday 3rd of July, with Gillian and Marisa in charge of food and Wendy in charge of wood. Camping down the garden. On Saturday, most of the club decided to camp down the garden. Luckily, we chose a fine weekend, and after some struggles, we managed to get the bell tent up. Pat and I ran in with the tent pole to get out of the hard work of hitting the tent pegs in with the mallets, one of which's heads kept flying off ever so often, and much to everyone's concern and disgust, it did not hit anyone. Gillian and I had a small lightweight tent, and after a hot drink we went to bed and started to eat and drink again, and we invited Derek Briggs in to share it. Also, we had a big bag of lemonade powder, which somehow we kept spilling in our beds. Very uncomfortable. In the morning, Gillian and I cooked breakfast, and even Wendy enjoyed it, so it must have been good. After this, we took the tents down, cleaned up, and some of them went a walk. So I suppose someone else will have to say something of this. Marissa.